Hey, hi everyone, this is Elise and welcome back to this episode of Beyond Business Conversations with women who have it all. And today I'm so happy to have my friend, and she was my first coach that I had to help me build my business. So if you're new to my work, my name is Elise and I help spiritual entrepreneurs with their money marketing mindset so that they can get their message out there in a much bigger way, serve more clients, make more money, and make good money and live the rich life. So today I have the modern medicine woman, Shamala. Like I've said, she was my first coach and she has opened many spiritual doors for me. It's just not umming and humming, going to past lives. And I've attended one of a past life, not regression, but past life activation session. And maybe she can share with us a little bit more. And I'm really excited to have her with us today because she blends spirituality and money, and she started this her business, Be Spiritual and Rich. And I think when she started, a lot of spiritual people actually kind of like throw rotten eggs at her. How can you be spiritual and be rich? What are you talking about? And I think this concept was so new a couple years ago, but right now I think spirituality has gone to a new form. So if you are still stuck with umming and humming like the Doreen Virtue's way, just close your eyes and visualize and just imagine a white light coming to you. You're still 1947. This is like 2015. So there is a new way. They call it the new age, new knowledge, and this is the new information again. So let me welcome Shamala. Let me give you a little bit of a background. Her husband is a monk, used to be a monk. She has a daughter, and I think what impressed me most was when she gave birth to her daughter, she took a stand for herself, said no to whatever that thing, not antibiotics, what's it called? That jab thing.
Yeah, the drugs where I forget the name, they jab it into your spine. It's a painkiller, right?
Yeah, it's spine. Well, I don't know how she went through the pain, because when I delivered my first daughter, I almost died, like I almost killed my husband. And then now I have 3, but I took the easy way. I took the cesarean way. So, well, you just do whatever it takes to have the baby out. And she's taking a stand as well for no drugs in your life. So I admit, when days when the energies are crazy, I have migraine, I do go to the Panadol. But she has this other formula that, she doesn't feed her daughter with antibiotics, but yet she recovers and self-heal, because that's what she believes. So let me warmly welcome Shamala. Why don't you tell us more a bit about yourself?
Hi, Elise. Hi, good morning. So you want me to talk about myself? I'm a modern medicine woman. What I do is I believe in holistic care on spiritual, emotional, mental levels, holistic care in terms of business. Really, when I talk about holistic, it's really holistic. So it's not just your spiritual growth, spiritual health, it's also your financial health. And of course, as I think most people probably listening to this are into personal development, personal growth, and needless to say, you go through a lot of learning lessons, the ups and downs, and you experience real life experiences, and it really takes you to a next level when you learn the lesson. And financially, spiritually also, I've been hit many times in my face, and then all you do is just stand up and start all over again. So it's been a good journey. Learning has been tremendous. Enjoy it, no regrets whatsoever. Even on a personal level, personal life. Also, big learning curve happening right now, but all good. Very happy with where I am right now. Yeah.
Awesome. So I know you talked about like the financial part, and I know before that we also did talk about the airy fairy part of the spirituality. Would you like to say a little bit more about this airy fairy? Because I think even when I started, I thought I'm just going to sit and and just hope that the clients would just turn up. Who knows? I need to learn about features and benefits, right? So what do you think genuinely the spiritual entrepreneurs are genuinely naive about this, or is it something that they are just avoiding?
I think there are various levels, firstly. So let's start with the spirituality. Let's talk about airy-fairy spirituality. I think for
Let's
most...
backtrack a little bit. Let's I want to know how do you define spirituality? What does spirituality mean to you?
Okay. Well, if you ask me what is spirituality 20 years ago, I would give you a different answer. But
So what was
today,
it 20 years ago?
20 years ago, 20
Yeah.
years ago, I thought spirituality was meditating. I thought spirituality was, channeling, tarot cards,
Mm.
reading a lot of spiritual books, So that, uh, in my opinion now, that's really airy-fairy. Spirituality, in my opinion now, is about, uh, who you are. It's a journey where you find out who you really are, your spiritual spark within you, and you have to go through many lessons in life, whether they are through spiritual books, whether it's lessons in relationships, lessons in business, lessons in parenting. All of these will encompass your spiritual journey to help you to really maybe discover who you are. And spirituality is about rediscovering who you are. Some people use religion, some people use different things, to try to find out who they are. The problem is, many of us get so distracted. We get distracted by our religion, we get distracted by relationships, we get distracted by money, we get distracted by being a parent, that we lose track. And then we don't really then discover who we are. Then we get too off focus. And so spirituality is all of that, really. It's the whole journey where you find out what is this spiritual spark inside you, and to allow that to blossom, and to allow that to really represent who you are. And I think it takes a lot of life experiences. It's like your entire life journey is that, and we can never get where we want to get or think that we are it already until upon death. Then we will realize whether we have truly expressed our authentic self. In the meantime, through life, whether we are 30, 40, 50, or 60, we are still learning and experimenting. And it takes a lot of courage, I think, to live life fully. Most people just want to be in their comfort zone. So that, to me, is spirituality. So when we talk about airy-fairy spirituality, what it really is I think that's quite normal for people to rediscover spirituality, because I think some of us grew up with certain traditional religions, and so we go through the motions, whether we go to the temple or go to church, we just pray, we just do the ritual, but we don't really understand what we're doing. Even if we go for Bible studies or any of these, we are just having information input, but we're not really feeling it or living it. It takes really very special people to be able to experience that, but that's really rare. For most of us is a lot of information input, and when we come to a point in our journey where we are tired of listening to the same old thing, we decide to rediscover ourselves. And then maybe the first experience we have could be something quite mystical, something quite, it is a metaphysical experience. So maybe in a form of dreams, or in a form of meditation, or just this, you feel like you are being blessed or anointed. And then this is where the airy-fairy spirituality begins, because we start to think that, oh my God, this is a whole new world. This must be it, So I'm going to discard everything that I have picked up from birth till now. Then I want to get on this spirituality. This spirituality is past life regression. This spirituality is channeling, psychism, tarot cards, meditation, and so on. And then is the entire journey, and we actually, all of us are going to start there in a way. So when we start there, and then we must progress, obviously. We must progress in terms of our emotional development, our mental development, our, how we live life, our earthly developmental self. We have to develop that. And then we can truly encompass the spiritual self. But unfortunately, people get trapped in this new age movement where they are only focused on meditation, they focus on psychism and channeling, and they don't go beyond, and they can get stuck there for decades and constantly trying to seek or getting, quick fixes. So they have a problem, they get a tarot card reading. They have a problem, they go there, they like channeling, or they go somewhere just to get a quick fix where they feel good for a time being, but the real issues are still there. So it takes courage to actually mature.
Are you still doing the channeling work?
I am still doing, but I'm very selective in doing the channeling work. And the work in the channeling on my website, moderndaymedium.com.sg, my focus is on helping people with their spiritual development. Like if they want a higher guidance, they can receive it, but they must be prepared to listen to what is being said to them. Because there is no sugarcoating, there is no, the messages are not going to be like, oh, we love you, you are wonderful, you are powerful, you are already a master. Okay, we don't have those kind of talk. The talk is real stuff, where you need to focus on. Where are your areas of weaknesses? Do you want to work on this area of weaknesses? What kind of mask are you still wearing? What kind of archetypes are you still playing out that you think are real but they are not? And so these are very concrete and very real information for personal development. And the thing is, not many people are going to like it, so not many people are going to actually do it. So
do you think your the way you channel the information that has being channeled is different from you being a channeler, like say 5 years ago, because you have developed in your own journey?
Oh, definitely, right? Because as I develop as a channel, I become clearer as well.
Your dog's channeling.
Yeah, the dog's channeling. And shh, come here. And so yeah, so definitely, I mean, as you develop, your style of channeling will also change. How much access to information you have will also change, because let's say 16 years ago when I started channeling, I mean, my level of maturity, psychological maturity, is far less. And how open am I in my channel to receive information is going to be was quite limited. Until started working on more my psychological self, then it started opening more and more. So yeah, definitely, your level of consciousness has a big part to play in how much access you have to information, which is, I think we talked about this in the past before. When people talk about psychism, when people talk about channeling, they think that it is just an open line where information is just coming through. It doesn't work that way. Everything is being filtered through your own consciousness.
Over our own ego, right, so to speak.
Definitely. Yeah. And the ego self wants to add in the extra ingredients, right, to make the messages sound glamorous or the messages sound good. Yeah.
So I think this is a learning point. Like, people think, like, if I go to a channeler, a psychic, oh, it's going to be this direct information, like, oh, it's definitely pure. But they forget that the psychics are also human beings. So this is a good learning point. If you desire to go to a psychic, make sure the psychic has got her shit together as well, that she's working on her own crap. Otherwise, how sure are you that she's not adding her own story and her own whatever drama that's added into her reading, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. So we talked about spiritual and then we talked about money. Why do you feel like spiritual people are resisting money? Is it because they want to model Jesus, Buddha? But I just was thinking, but Jesus and Buddha didn't live a poverty life. They whined, they died. And Buddha used to be a prince. So his level of consciousness, his level of wealth, his frequency of wealth is very high because he used to be a prince, right? And I feel like if people want to adopt their consciousness, the way they live like poverty, then they should have they cannot have sex anymore because that's what they live, right? So is that where spiritual people have the concept from? Like the church, Jesus, they think that they are living in poverty. And so they want to model them to feel like I'm humble.
Yeah, I think maybe the teachings, I mean, again, I mean, we can say that there are people who are not interpreting the lessons or teachings well, but they could say the same thing about us, right? But that we want to interpret the way we want to interpret. But the way I see it, across the board, you know, in most religions and most of these master teachers, what they are teaching us really is about attachment.
Mm.
You know, whether we can have that thing, have the wealth, and what if we lose it? Is it our identity? You know, if I'm a multi-billionaire, and if my identity is that, and if I were to lose it, am I gonna lose my identity? Am I so attached to my multi-billions that once I lose them, I'm nothing? I think that's the teachings that they're trying to teach us, you know, whether we are listening to who we are, the authentic self within us, or are we worshipping things around us, including money, our children, our work, our spouse, our whatever. Are we worshipping them? Are we so attached to these things that we forget who we are and we forget our connection with God? And so that's, to me, is the essence of the teaching. So even when Buddha decided to leave the palace and, you know, go and sit below the tree and meditate, he talked about detachment. Is not so much about, I mean, he's born a prince. He can never be not a prince because that's what he's born into.
Mm.
And he will, you know, forever be that, right? And that's his name. And but he practiced detachment, which means I am not the prince. You know, even though that's my name, that's my heritage. Without it, I am still okay. I'm going to connect with my authentic self, and I'm still going to be me, you know, and that's enlightenment. You know, in those days, it's about detachment. It's about not using these. For him, it will be the identity of the prince, right? That's one of them. Not being overly attached to the riches that comes with his name, but to be who he really is. So even with Jesus, same thing, right? If we are worshipping money, if we are worshipping things around us, then we cannot truly be our authentic self. So we can have these things. You know, I think the true test is to have all of these things and lose them, and then what will become of you? You know, are you still going to be there, or are you going to be missing?
So have you gone through that lesson yet to lost everything?
Oh yes, yes. In fact, when I started Be Spiritual and Rich, the website, the Facebook page, the first year there was a huge learning curve. By the second and third year, I knew that one of the biggest lessons when it comes to abundance and spirituality was going to come. I just knew it, and it did. Where I lost everything in terms of financially. You know, there was a lot of financial struggle. I took 1 year to get back on my feet, which I did, and I rebuilt the business.
How did you lose everything?
Well, running the business was something I really enjoyed running the business, but I felt also I was not my authentic self. I enjoy it tremendously. I mean, I enjoyed working with entrepreneurs such as yourself and many others.
You have
But
to
I
say
was
because I
not.
was fine.
Sorry?
You have to say that you enjoy working with entrepreneurs, especially me because I was your client.
But that's true, you know. I'm not lying there. I really enjoyed because for me it was learning. It was a big learning curve. Learning about different things, entrepreneurship, and how to combine that with spirituality. I mean, it is a good path to take, but it's not one for me. As much as I enjoyed it, it wasn't one for me in that sense. And then, you know, there were other challenges on the personal front that came. And so I went through a really, really tough time. And so I decided, okay, I need to start all over. And so I did. And when I started all over, it was, you know that feeling of being lost and like, okay, you're just going through the motions and you're feeling lost, but you still go through the motions. So I was that for maybe about 3 to 4 months. And then eventually, you know, I bounced back, saw progress in what I was doing, and I kept developing, just kept going.
So in that 3 or 4 months, So in that 3 or 4 months, how did you pick yourself up? Did you ever tell yourself like, oh, this is a sign from God? Because I know a lot of people, when really shit hits the fan or like when they're going on a downward spiral, they just assume that this is a sign from the universe, but actually it's just clearing the junk out like what you said. So how did you pick yourself up? Because this is such a key thing, right? Like most people say, oh, I picked myself up and, you know, after 3 months I just did that. But when you're going through it, I think a lot of people are going through it. It's this period that, what was that moment for you that, okay, you know, because right now the result is this, oh, you have a 6-figure business, you are going well, people can see that, but the learning journey is really at that moment. What was that wake up moment for you?
I don't think there was one significant moment. It was really a process. I tried so many things. And I tried this, then it bombed, it failed. I tried another thing, it failed again, and I tried to do joint ventures with some other people, collaboration, and I was traveling so much, you know, going up and down, and having to find the money to travel. I was going to Malaysia, and that's another challenge, you know, finding money to travel, and trying to travel on a budget, and I tried so many things just to find my way, and many failed, and you know, you get this feeling like you want to give up, like, oh, forget it, just go and get a job. But at the same time, a part of me knows that I can never survive getting a job. That's not me. I haven't had a job in since I was 21. You know, at the age of 21, I started my own business. So I could never go back there. And so for me, the only way is forward. And there are times when I'm so exhausted, you know, because going out there, trying to network, find the right people to work with, takes up so much energy that at the end of the day, I'm so drained. I don't even have time to think about how miserable I was or how difficult it was. You just go through the motions. And it was only, you know, after those months that you see a little bit of progress, that's where you start feeling like, okay, there's hope. You know, there's hope developing in your heart. There's like, okay, I think I'm going somewhere, you know. And then I just kept my focus on doing what I needed to do. And then I look at the results.
How do you know like that's what you need to do?
I saw progress as opposed to, I mean, for me at that time, it was pretty obvious because there were these projects that I took on that completely bombed, lost a lot of money, besides losing money, lost more money, you know, which then made me feel like, oh goodness, you know, when is this going to end? And then when, you know, the progress was so little, like a few $100s, and then which grew to a few $1,000s. And then you just feel like, okay, this must be, the progress is really, really slow, but far better than all the other projects that I've taken that completely bombed. So I'm just going to focus on this small progress that I've been making. And so by putting more energy in the small progress, it became bigger progress. And then ideas started coming. This is where you build your structure, right? When you focus on the little progress you have made, and then you say, okay, this is something I can build on. And so I kept on creating more structures, more plans, and that's where it started to flow. And when it started flowing, you will always come to a point where you feel like you're stuck again, and then you got to restructure, replan, and then it starts again. So it's a cycle.
I'm curious, right, that you have shared with us so many failures. Have you ever once thought that God has given up on you?
No. I don't know whether that came from my ego self, but but no, I've never thought of that. I think perhaps maybe it was the only thing that kept me going, my faith. Because I kept thinking to myself, through all the terrible times that I've gone through, from a teenager to my early 20s, all these really, really traumatic times that I went through, I made it, I recovered, I bounced back. Then I think, well, if I bounce back during these times, then I'm going to bounce back, now as well. Things are not going to be as bad. But things were worse, actually. But but then I thought, okay, maybe because I'm older, so the lesson's got to be bigger. And so, I just learned and went through it. Yeah.
So do you feel like God has a plan for us?
Oh, definitely.
Despite all your failures, did you still believe like God has a plan for you?
Yes, and it's interesting. It's very interesting that you are saying this, because yesterday I have regular sessions with a therapist. And yesterday I had a session with my therapist, and when I went into the therapy room, I felt this connection, within me. It's like I haven't felt that in a long time. I felt my heart just opening, and I felt my whole energy just shaking at a level where I've not felt before. It was really, really significant and strong. And then, interestingly, my therapist, who was sitting across me, she asked me, "Do you feel that?" I said, "Yes, I'm feeling it." And she picked up on it too, right? And she said, and she's not a psychic, all right? She's a psychotherapist, and she does very powerful work with the unconscious. Her focus is on Jung's work, and so she felt it. So she said, this feels like a new beginning for you. I said, yeah, I feel it. It's a real new beginning. So in all the challenges that I've had in my life, when I go through a particular challenge and then I bounce back, I always get this feeling like, okay, this is a new beginning. And there are many, many significant new beginnings. And I always feel that when I get to the next level, God has another plan in front of me. And I always ask for signs. And I will say, just show me a very significant sign. And I say, and I also tell God, but sometimes I'm a bit daft. I don't get the signs, so can you repeat them? So the signs are repeated sometimes. So then I get it. I say, okay, this is it. So yeah, so there are always plans, and I think as we progress, the plans change as well, to suit our progress. And that's only right, because we can't live a plan that was for us 5 years ago when we have grown so much, right? So the plan has to change accordingly. So that I think that's quite powerful and that's quite beautiful to have plans changing according to you. I mean, that's the beauty of God and the universe.
Yeah. I think you talked about something really interesting because I do also ask for signs. And I think a lot of people believe in God, but they think that God is outside themselves and they think God is some God-fearing, like punishing God. So they don't dare to challenge. They don't dare to challenge him. They don't dare to ask for anything. They just like, okay, yes, I'll do it. But yeah, he's there ready to for you to be challenged because he's God, right? So
Yeah.
I remember a point where I was very angry with God because why is he making me go through $1 days in my bank? Why is he making me struggle when I knew I had a gift, I knew I had talent, I just want to do good work, right? I don't want to like suffer. Why is he making me go through? So I was very angry. And then one day at the corner of my room, I'm like, you gotta help me! I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I just started screaming and shouting at him. And then boom, that was when life changed for me because on my side I was willing to do whatever it takes legally, morally, without prostitution to get to where I want. But yet I demanded, you show me now, like right now, right? So I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are afraid of God.
Yeah.
They are not they don't believe that actually God is on their side.
Yeah. And
Right?
I think also they give their power. I mean, they look at God as, I mean, God is a higher power, but we need to work in partnership.
Mm.
This is something that's forgotten, right? People want to just take instructions. They don't want to work in partnership. And if you dare to challenge that authority and you want to work in partnership, hey, I want a partner, I don't want just to take instructions. You find that your plate will get bigger.
Mm.
Your responsibilities are going to get bigger. The role that you play on earth is going to get bigger. Really leave a significant mark where you can impact more lives because you dare, right? You dare to say, hey, give me more. You dare to say, I'm ready. When are you going to use me?
Yeah.
I want to be a partner. I don't want to just take instructions, go away. If you just want me to take instructions, I don't want to play this game. And I think entrepreneurs don't take instructions very well anyway.
Mm.
Um, they are good at co-creating. They're good in partnerships, but they're lousy in taking instructions. And which is good in a way, because then for spiritual entrepreneurs, I think it's a big bonus. This just means that you can really work in co-creation with God and your own authentic self, as well as the plan that is for you. Then you can change the plan if necessary.
Mm. Exactly. You also did talk about taking instructions, and this reminds me of the employee mindset versus the employer mindset. So the employee will never dare to challenge the authority, their bosses, but yet as an entrepreneur, you just break every rule. Basically, I don't think God has any rule for you. You make that rule in yourself. I mean, you make the rule for yourself, and then you're like, okay, and then you blame God for not working it out for you, right? And you also
Yeah.
talk about the authentic self. So how do we know we have found that authentic self? And what is that authentic self all about?
I think the authentic self is constantly evolving as well. So we can't really completely grasp the authentic self because as we grow and develop as a person and we feel like we are in sync, right, or in connection with our authentic self, then things will start to change again because then there is a higher demand again for you to grow. And then it's like you're constantly trying to play catch up with your true self because there is you, the personality here, and then there is your spirit, right, who is also developing and growing and evolving in the spiritual realm. And so you're constantly trying to realign and realign. And I think that's the beauty of life, right? I mean, if we meet that so-called spiritual or authentic self at the age of 20, 21, then what are we going to do for the rest of our lives? It's going to be quite boring. So we have to keep trying to catch up, and that's where all the lessons and all the learning come in, which makes it more exciting, which makes makes us go through heartache, failure, go through all kinds of life experiences. And And these experiences are never bad, whenever I go through a bad phase, I always tell myself, yeah, okay, this is a bad phase I'm going through. I'm going to honor it. It's really something I need to go through. No one died, so no big deal. I can still go on. I can still carry on, yeah, and learn my lessons. And so, did I answer your question?
So how about let's go back to money, because I think money is such a key thing, and people resist money like it's sex, like you cannot talk about it, right? Like it's even woo-woo than the woo-woo stuff itself. But yeah, we need the money to survive. We need the money to fund our dreams. We need the money, like you say, to buy even a budget airline ticket. So how can spiritual entrepreneurs strengthen their relationship with money? And do you feel like money is actually a sort of like a spiritual teacher in some sense? I feel
Oh,
it is.
definitely. I think it's one of the biggest spiritual teachers, right, on this planet, because even whether you're on a spiritual path or not, you're confronted with money.
Hmm.
We deal with money constantly. It's something that we deal with every single day. It's on everyone's mind. I think people think about money more than God,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you need to buy something, you think about money. If you need to, yeah, you need to feed yourself, you need to pay bills, you whatever you're doing, you think about money.
Hmm.
And if we do not learn to master it, it's going to master us, right? Because money is just energy, and we become a slave to money, and we are not mastering money and making it work for us, then it's going to sabotage us. It's going to have control over us. Money is like food, same, right? I mean, if um, we don't have control over our diet, then the food is going to be our master. It's going to control us. Same with possessions, same with everything, because at the end of the day, I mean, as the saying goes, money is energy. It's just energy. And we can interesting thing about money is we can make plans to grow it. We can make plans to grow it. We can make plans to make it work for us. We can make plans to do good with the money. We can make plans to have this money multiply so that we can do even more, contribute more to the world. And without money, we can't do a lot of things. I mean, what use do you have if you say you're a spiritual teacher, but you have no money to contribute to anyone or anything? Then what spiritual teacher are you? It's then you might as well just hide in a cave and not call yourself a spiritual teacher.
Actually, that was
A
something
spiritual teacher is supposed to be out there.
true.
Spiritual teacher is supposed to be out there, do good example. Wrong with? I think I lost you there.
Yeah, it went a little bit off
Oh,
hand.
okay.
Yeah. So I think you talked about going to the cave, and I think I had that concept as well when I started my spiritual journey. I'm like, this human being shit is just too much for me. I want to go up the mountain. And then my friend said, why don't you just try going to Bukit Timah Hill first?
Yeah, that's a good start.
Yeah. Why do you feel like there's so much fear around money? Like, oh my God, like there's just two camps of people, right? The one that just denies money, or the ones that just hoard money. Like it's still revolving around money, right? So why do you feel like there's so much fear in the spiritual entrepreneurs? It's either we deny it or we just hoard it.
I think spiritual entrepreneurs deny it because they don't know how. They're not familiar with money. They don't know how to work with money. They don't. The other thing also, I think, which is a big thing, they don't value themselves enough. So let's say they do some spiritual work. They undercharge. They're so afraid that people are gonna say are going to judge them for charging a fee. They dare not stand up to what they believe, because they're afraid they're going to be judged by potential clients. They're afraid they're going to be judged by fellow coaches or fellow healers. But the thing is, whether you're going to charge high or low, you're going to be judged anyway. So you might as well just charge what you're worth. People are going to judge you. So, grow up and live with it. This is the adult world. People will constantly be judging you. So why allow these judgments to stop you? Just carry on and do what you need to do. Keep the focus on what you're meant to do, rather than to give your time and your energy to people who judge you, who are not going to be using your services anyway. Why waste your time, right? And I think you share this view with me as well, that if you're going to be judged anyway, so why bother?
Yeah.
So
do also them, don't do also them.
Exactly, right? So you might as well just go with what you are worth. So too many spiritual entrepreneurs undercharge. They don't charge what they're worth. They're afraid that they're going to lose the client. But let me tell you, in my years of experience, those people who bargain with you, those people who are not willing to pay, they give you the most problems.
Yeah.
And those people who are willing to pay what you are worth and for the services that you provide, they rarely give you problems, because they really value the work that you do. So they're not going to give you problems. Those people who ask for pay, they will be the biggest complainers. They will be the most demanding. I think you have experienced that too, right, Elise?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like, there was once I had a phone call. I don't know where the referral came from. She's like, oh,
I think we have...
Huh? Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah. So I remember there was one time there was this call that came in. She wants to do a card reading, and then she says, but I'm on the budget. If you don't fit my budget, then I cannot hire you. And I'm like, so I think spiritual entrepreneurs, like specifically the card readers, the tarot card readers, because of their low self-esteem and their level of consciousness with money, they actually spoil the market. They expect you to give like a $10 reading, and they expect you to give like a $200 reading, and then they are just only willing to pay like $10 or $20. And so they spoil the market themselves, and then they cannot blame their clients for not wanting to pay them at a higher rate, right? And I'm like, okay, just screw you and just move on. I'm not gonna just because. And then she sounded so desperate. That is what you're talking about, when they want to pay minimum and they come with so much problems and they expect this miracle pill. That's when the nightmare clients come in.
Yeah. When this is again energy, right? I mean, if we want to put in this much energy and we want this much back, it's never going to work. We want this much back, we're going to put in this much energy.
Yeah.
Then we're going to get the results that we see, and then from there it's going to multiply. The energy is just going to multiply, because then we make the shift and the change and the transformation within ourselves. Then we will see it. But first we need to put in.
Yeah.
We can't expect.
That's an interesting thing that you said. You need to put in first, because I know when I was at the lower consciousness, and I know a lot of people are also like that. You give me the money first, then I'll do charity. You give me the money first, then I'll hire a coach. You give me the money first, then I'll do this. Like, they expect God or the universe to give to them first. But I think I've tried enough and knocked myself enough on the head to realize that the universe does not work this way. It's almost as if God's saying, you tell me how interested you are, you tell me how committed you are, and then boom, I'm fully behind your back. But most people do not have that faith, like what we talked about, like to jump. Like when God asks you how to jump, you ask him how high and not ask him why, right? So it's that fear, again, like the relationship with God. Like, they don't trust God. So they're like, so they whine and they complain, you give me first and then I'll do this.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a child bargaining, right? Yeah, and normally if a child bargains, I mean, as a parent, what do? You don't play the game.
Yeah.
So God is just going to ignore you. God's not going to play the game.
So it's not like he didn't see you, but he's like, okay, you're just too noisy. Don't come back to me again when you're serious.
Yeah.
So, and you also talked about self-value, like how undercharging, it's like you send a signal to your subconscious mind that you're not valuing yourself. And how about the body? Because you have this thing, you are creating this movement about taking care of your body. So share with us a little bit more. What are the consequences of not taking care of your body? What are the consequences of not basically feeding your body well? Because I know you're a vegetarian, but that's something that I just cannot do. So what do you have something to say about that? Like taking care of your body? Hello?
I think taking care of your health is really, I mean, as spiritual entrepreneurs, if we want to do good work, we need to have our body working properly, first and foremost. If our body is not functional, then how are we going to do the work, right? Because this is our vehicle. So honoring the body, I think it's really the key, and taking care of our health, making sure that we are eating well, not feeding ourselves with chemicals, keeping it in a good state, making sure all our glandular system is working, because a lot of the junk that we take in, whether it is all the chemical, petrochemicals, all the plastic chemical stuff that we get from household products, all these things, they get stuck in our glands. And once they get stuck in our glands, then, for example, for spiritual people, the third eye is so important, right? So the gland here is not going to function properly if we do not take care of ourselves. If we do not choose what we use, whether in the food that we eat or in the products that we use, we don't choose wisely, then our third eye or the gland there is just going to be stiffened. We can't think properly, and then we have this brain fuzz. And then what use are we to the world? Then we can no longer be spiritual entrepreneurs. We'll just stay at home and rot. We can't even think properly. So taking care of the body, I think is really the key. So exercising, eating well, doing it for the right purpose, obviously, not for vanity, but really for health, and to make sure that it's fully functioning. That you're not going to be like, you have the desire to do something big, to continue in your purpose, to grow your purpose, to start a movement, and then you are struck down by some long-term chronic illness. That's going to stop you, from doing your work effectively. But some people, for them, maybe the illness is just an additional cross they have to carry. Maybe it's something genetic. Then again, the commitment to how to heal themselves, or the commitment to how to get better, will be part of the learning journey, in also expanding their life's work and living their life's purpose. So it's about your commitment.
I think
how committed you are in keeping your body as healthy as possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like, they separate themselves from God, they separate themselves from the soul, they separate themselves from the mind, and then they separate themselves from the body as well. So the body, mind, spirit, it's not aligned. Do you have any exercises to help us keep our body and soul aligned, so that we can be a fully functional human being and live our life purpose?
I think we just need to do, firstly, I think first and foremost, we need to do the basic things. Go back to basics like eat well as in eat healthily, exercise. These are just very basic things. Nourish yourself emotionally, nourish yourself mentally, clear the garbage that's within you emotionally and mentally. Remove all the masks that you're wearing, because they can get quite heavy and they're not your true self. And if they're not your true self, you carry this mask throughout your whole life, you pick up rubbish, then you're not going to be able to you know, be speaking or expressing yourself in a real way. So I think maybe the first step is to be truly honest. Be truly honest. I know too many spiritual people will always say things like, or, I've heard this many times, a channel who is overweight, and the channel will say, oh, I need to be this big because if I'm not, then I can't hold the energies. But I've met many channels who are not big, they're quite small, quite slim. They still do their job well. So that is, this honesty firstly to self, where you have this belief that you need to be big, and so it gives you an excuse not to take care of the body, which, it's not going to allow you to be true, to your purpose, and you won't be able to channel effectively too. That's the case.
So you talked about garbage. What do you mean by garbage? How do people identify that they have garbage?
I think this would be like a psychological pattern that we have. If we are consistently playing out the same story, we keep whatever challenges that we're faced, we keep playing the same story. We keep telling ourselves the same story. We keep believing the same story. That's garbage then. If we are not willing to change our story, we're not willing to be aligned with the story that is authentic to us, and we live other people's stories, then that's garbage that we're carrying. Yeah, it has a lot to do with our psychological self.
So who do you say is your biggest motivation? Where do you get?
There's always.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Yeah. So why don't you? I want to know who's your biggest motivation? Where do you get your inspiration from? Who do you look up to in the spiritual journey, in the spiritual kind of the realm?
Right now it's a bit hard for me to give you something, because I think right now I'm still in a process of developing I wouldn't say new ideas, but developing connection. So, but if you ask me, 5-6 years ago, I would say I would get my inspiration from ascended masters. The New Age movement will be quite familiar with the term ascended masters, and they would be my guides. They would be people I look up to. But at this point in my life, I think I've come to a point where I am starting from, in terms of my spiritual development, I'm starting from ground zero. I'm starting from scratch. All these master teachers that I've looked up to, I know they're still around. I know that they still give guidance if I ask, but they're not. They inspire me in some ways, but I wouldn't say that they're the main inspiration. I feel like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff right now, where I am going into the unknown, where I have no idea where I'm heading to in terms of my spiritual growth. I am not looking up to anyone as a spiritual teacher. I have not found anyone that I feel is able to guide me. I've not found anyone who. So for me right now it's a little bit tough. But I am actually looking back into the past, and I'm studying quite a lot of work by Jung, psychology, the unconscious, and so on and so forth. And I do have plans eventually to take up a course and to be certified as some form of therapist or other. So maybe that can open the door for me in terms of going into deeper.
So maybe that's why we're having this conversation. Like, I'm actually taking up a certification. It's called the Spiritual Psychology, based on Jung's work. So we can chat after this. So my mentor, he is a psychologist, he's a doctor, and he specializes in Jungian work, and so I can give you the
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I'm into Jungian psychology. Because initially when I started my coaching business, people were saying I'm too spiritual, so that's when I delved into the psychology work, and this got brought up for me. This was shown to me, and the certification just started. I would love for you to join us. It's an amazing group, and it's just beyond just women, and they don't believe in healing. It's like we are already perfect. It's just the garbage, like what you say, and we call it the unconscious beliefs, and we call it the shadow work. So we do a lot of the shadow work. The shadow is something that you don't see, right? Carl Jung said, until you make your unconscious conscious, you'll direct your life, and you'll call it fate. So I love that. I love that quote, and in my own journey with them, I've gotten so much on the the unconscious work, the shadow work, which is like, it's just not the belief system that you bust. Like, I know that I feel probably I'm not good enough. It's more than that. So it's deeper work, and so I really, really love the Jungian psychology, the shadow work especially. It's so awesome. It drives me crazy sometimes. Like, people see the story, but I'm like, but what? And it just drives me nuts. But it's so therapeutic in that way. Like, that's what the garbage you're talking about, because it's so deep in the layers.
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm just looking at my notes. So before we end, I know we talked about the mindless thing. I know when we talked about, okay, let's call this the mindless, but mindless can mean dumb, airy, fairy as well. But then I didn't look at the other perspective, which is your perspective, as in like surrender, letting go. And I think there's something interesting that we want to talk about, is the concept of surrendering, letting go, and going with the flow. Right? So it's all intertwined, and it's easy to get confused. So before we go, why don't you actually tell us what you feel about surrendering, that, okay, all is well, the butterflies are coming, and really going with the flow, the divine flow, like you said.
Yeah. I think we talked about this earlier on, where we said that too many spiritual people always say go with the flow, but there is a big misconception about what going with the flow means, because far too many people are just going with the emotional flow, what they feel like doing. What you feel like doing may not be instructed by spirit, or it's not something divine. You're just going with your feelings. Like, if you feel like having ice cream, so you just go and feel like ice cream. If you feel like working today, so you work. You don't feel like working, then you don't work. Now, if your life is run this way, then you're not going to get far. So when we talk about flow, as in divine flow, it comes with a lot of structure. So you need to be able to build a foundation first where it's strong enough. And I think I mentioned this earlier on, when I started to rebuild my business, I had some structure, I planned, and that's why I felt the flow. And then I hit a new ceiling, and I have to restructure again, replan, relook at things, and then the new flow comes in. So means foundation before God can come through, before the divine flow. Don't have the proper foundation and the structure, then the flow is not going to happen. And so God is not going to take them anywhere, because they did not do the groundwork first. They did not build a foundation first. So no foundation, no flow. And this foundation could be anything, right? It could be building a website, how to market a website. It could be networking, meeting people. It could be building a program, making sure it is workable program, things like that. So You don't just wait for things to happen, you know, you make it happen.
Mm.
God is not going to reward you for just sitting there and waiting. God will reward you if you start the ball rolling and you do something, and then God will work in partnership with you.
Mm.
And I think, you know, this whole business about going with the flow, I have to admit it's one of my pet peeves. You know, when people say go with the flow, I go, ugh, I cringe inside me, because I started to think, do they even know what is the flow? You know, so you know, I think this is a good example about our chat here, right? We had a structure. We created this time slot to meet, so we had our foundation. So what we talk about here, our conversation, is the flow, right? So if we say let's go with the flow in this conversation, it's a good flow because we already had the structure. You had some guidelines as to how we're gonna talk about, you know, what are the topics we're gonna cover. We had the time slot. So this is divine flow. So business is the same, right? Or manifesting abundance is the same. You need the structure. You can't just, okay, let's go with the flow. If there's no structure, then nothing is gonna happen.
Exactly. I totally get it. It's like people think I want to manifest like 5 clients, but you need to have the structure, you need to have the list, you need to go out, do whatever it takes, and then to get the 5 clients in, the 5 clients not going to just magically just show up out of thin air. But that's what we had, the concept. Like that's what Doreen Virtue says, right? Just meditate and and then just imagine the white lights coming to you, that sort of thing. And in my love coaching days, you know, a lot of women just hide behind the computer and they expect the guy to show up. But the guy's not going to show up. The only person that will show up is probably your postman. And if you even order any registered mail, otherwise you're not going to meet anyone. So I think it's about taking action. And I think I've learned, like, if you take enough action, the how will happen, but it's not your job to know the how. And you just do something, something will happen, but it may not be the way you expect it to be, but something will happen.
Yeah. And even if that something that happens is not positive as you perceive it, it could be negative, it is still an opportunity there for learning. That's where you start to make the changes that you need. And then you know, once you make that small change or small transformation, then that's where things will start to kick in.
Yeah. Exactly. I think most people are expecting this mountain moving, Red Sea departing, but all you need is basically one small
And sometimes the change doesn't even have to be big.
Yeah, exactly. So you just need actually one small shift to experience this massive results versus expecting a massive result to see that thing that happened for us. So, any last tips for us before we say goodbye?
Well, I think the best thing you can do for yourself is really work with authentic honesty. You know, what is it that you are, you need to work on yourself and listen to criticisms from people. I know that in the spiritual movement, people always say, don't listen to criticisms. People are there to put you down. But I think we should still listen, but don't take them to heart. And ask yourself, okay, these criticisms that I'm receiving, what can I learn here? Is there some truth in it? And if there is truth in it, what can I do about it? If there is no truth in it, and if I've done my complete homework and there's really no truth in it, then I'm not going to let it bother me. I think that way we can truly, you know, not to leave anything out, you know, and really go into ourselves and really work with honesty. I think that's really lacking, unfortunately, even in spiritual circles where people are so dishonest with themselves. You know, they lie to themselves. They live lies, and they're not going to be able to do significant work. And know that even if you make a mistake, it's okay, right? I mean, who's perfect? So if you make a mistake, you just bounce back, you know, learn from it, get on with life. Yeah.
That's so true. whatever happens, life goes on. And where can we find you?
You can find me on my website, modernmedicinewoman.com.sg. That's where I am, and that's where I have my articles, my blog. I share quite a lot about my journey. This year has been slow in terms of sharing because a lot of changes, but I will be sharing more. And so stay tuned. And from there, you can go to my Facebook pages as well.
Yep. Shamala has a very successful Facebook page, and it's really amazing. Just watch her grow. You may and will learn a lot from her because she's somebody who walks her talks, and as you can hear, like, she really openly shares with her journey. And I think, like what she says, most people lack the honesty. They don't want to share their journey with you, but that's the more vulnerable you are, the more successful you are. That's the way it is. So thank you so much, Shamala, for being on the show with us, and so generously sharing your story and inspiring us in so many other ways. So go check her out at modernmedicinewoman.com.sg. All right, so see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Thanks,